Hey folks, welcome back to Horsin Around. We've had a little bit of a hiatus, but it's great to be back on the couch. Brian McCormack here with you. Darren Elliott has this week off as well. He's off celebrating his mother's birthday, so off for a very good reason. But we'll have him back in studio next week for our next episode. But there was so much to cover, and it's been a few weeks since we've been able to sit down together. We had to make sure we got an episode in because the Silver Knights have been playing so well. We're going to hear from Brandon Hickey, Silver Knights defenseman, and we're also going to catch up with AHL pundit and insider, Mr. Patrick Williams. So pretty loaded show as the Silver Knights get ready for two this weekend on home ice against the Tucson Roadrunners. That also includes Donate Life Night presented by Nevada Donor Network on Saturday. Give you the details for that as well. So lots to cover. But right now the Silver Knights are in the midst of, you could very easily argue, the best 6-week stretch in franchise history as they are 15-3-3 out of the All-Star break dating back to February the 13th. Their 33 points are the most in the American Hockey League over that span, and they head into this week against the Roadrunners with an opportunity to clinch their first playoff berth since 2022. Silver Knights' magic number heading into the weekend is 8 points. That 8 points would put enough distance between them and the Roadrunners to cinch things up. So for the Silver Knights, these two games against the Tucson Roadrunners is enough to close that gap. If the Silver Knights are able to win both in regulation, 4 points for them, 4 points lost by Tucson, 4-4-8, and that would do the job. So Silver Knights hoping they can take care of business this weekend. And, well, the way things have been going, Silver Knights have been taking care of business against just about everybody after they picked up 3 of an available 4 points in Milwaukee this past weekend. Certain players just continue to roll along, and there are some accolades to prove it. Silver Knights represented both the Player of the Month and the Rookie of the Month for the American Hockey League in the month of March. Raphael Lavoie was the Player of the Month. His excellence goes further back than just the last month. Trevor Connolly's for that matter as well. Raphael Lavoie has 15 goals in his last 16 games, now with 24 on the season. And as we'll discuss, there's plenty of Silver Knights this season that are either exceeding franchise records or in the ballpark of having an opportunity to do so. And, well, I guess that's not surprising. If the Silver Knights are having one of their best runs in franchise history, it stands to reason that's because several players are going to be having the best seasons in franchise history. But Raphael Lavoie, 15 goals in the last 16 games. He now has 24 goals in just 37 games this season. He has been electric since returning from injury. Trevor Connolly was named the Rookie of the Month and just 20 years old, and only 20 years old for a few weeks now. He has had a phenomenal stretch. A 15-game point streak for Trevor Connolly. That is the third longest in the American Hockey League this season, and is the longest in Silver Knights franchise history. For Trevor Connolly, his excellence goes back further than that. He has points in 20 of the last 21, and he has 30 points over that stretch. So just a phenomenal season for Connolly, and the Silver Knights have now had the Rookie of the Month in each of the last 2 months. Ben Hemmerling got the honor in February. So for the Silver Knights, scoring goals has been easy of late. They are first in the American Hockey League in goals per game, and they've gotten terrific goaltending from Carl Lindbaum and Cameron Whitehead as well. Lindbaum is 13-0-1 since the All-Star break. He was not the goaltender of the month, but you have to imagine in the voting that he was second or third because he's been that good for the Silver Knights. He has not lost a game in regulation since late January. So for the Silver Knights, all things clicking right now. And, you know, we just named a few headliners who have really been driving things in that category, but the depth goes far beyond that in terms of who's been rolling for the Silver Knights. Tanner Laczynski leads the American Hockey League in plus-minus. He's fourth in league scoring, as he has been, honestly, that top line of Tanner Laczynski, Raphael Lavoie, and Ben Hemmerling. You can make a very compelling argument that has been the best line in the American Hockey League for the last 2 months, if not a little bit longer than that. So that's helped to drive the Silver Knights to their current spot, which is to say they are sixth in the Pacific Division, but an incredibly condensed Pacific Division as the Silver Knights, I believe, are 3 points back of third heading into this weekend. There's 8 points separating third and seventh in the Pacific. So for the Silver Knights hoping to lock up playoff positioning, they have work to do, but they are very much in the driver's seat. For you, the fan, trying to decide exactly where they're going to fall in that playoff spot, what the matchup will be for the first round, don't waste your breath on that just yet. You're going to have probably 3, 4, 5 different permutations, combinations of if the Silver Knights are starting off against San Jose, if they're starting off against Coachella, if they're starting off against Colorado. And again, this is all with them still needing to secure the playoffs to begin with, first things first. But if they are able to get that done, there's 4 different teams that they could very likely play, and the Silver Knights have home ice very much within arm's reach, so we don't even know where they would start. There's a lot to figure out, but for the Silver Knights, the benefit is that they've been playing their best hockey, the league's best hockey, over the last 6 weeks, and find themselves right in the playoff hunt. But in addition to some of the names we mentioned, Kai Uchaz has 7 goals in the last 10 games. He has points in 9 of the last 10 games. Let's talk a little bit about, we mentioned some players with franchise records within reach. Some have already been broken, and some are on the verge of being broken. So with Raphael Lavoie, who, by the way, has played 79 games as a Silver Knight in his career, and he's scored, I believe it's 41 goals now. He's 6th all-time in Silver Knights goal scoring in what equates to essentially 1 full season of AHL work. That's how tremendous a finisher he's been, especially since coming back from his 2-month injury absence. He has been automatic for the Silver Knights since his return. He is now 4 goals shy of establishing a new single-season goal-scoring record for the Silver Knights. Pavel Dorofeev, Sheldon Rempel have both scored 27 in a season for the HSK. Again, the impressive thing for Raphael Lavoie is that he's right within reach of setting a new record. He's played less than 40 games. The pace has just been tremendous. For the Silver Knights, Tanner Lazinski has already set a single-season record for assists and counting. He is at 61 points. He is 3 points shy of matching Gage Quinney's franchise record for points in a single season. Lucas Cormier has already set the record for single-season points by a Silver Knights defenseman. Dylan Coughlin has set a new record for goals in a single season with 13. And we've talked all season about just how good this blue line has been, how productive this blue line has been. Prior to this season, Daniil Miramanov was the only Silver Knights defenseman ever to reach 40 points in a season. He reached 40. It was in 21-22. This season, it's very, very possible, if not likely, that 3 defensemen are going to break that ceiling. Lucas Cormier already has. Jeremy Davies and Dylan Coughlin are about to. So, again, it is not surprising when you have a team having its best season, and the Silver Knights right now have accumulated more points in a season this season than in any other season, passing that 21-22 team, the last time the Silver Knights were in the playoffs. When that's the case, when you're having your best season, it stands to reason that some of the players involved in that are going to do the same. But this is a Silver Knights team clicking in all facets of the game right now, scoring goals, finding ways to win on nights where they don't have their best stuff, finding ways to at least pick up a point on nights where maybe they don't have their best stuff or they take their foot off the gas pedal even a hair. That's barely ever been the case for the HSK over the course of the last 6 weeks. As right now they're looking like an absolute handful for anyone they might meet in a first-round series. Of course, that first-round series would be a 3-game series followed by a couple of 5-game series and a couple of 7-game series, which if we make it that far, we'll be talking hardware. So for the Silver Knights, picking the absolute best time of year to play their best hockey. And we can talk a little bit right now about Trevor Connolly and the advancements he's made. Again, he's just turned 20 years old. 30 points in the last 21 games. And what Ryan Craig has said so often is he plays in the middle of the ice. And you talk any player that's finding offensive success, Ryan Craig is usually going to say it's because they're finding a way to get to the middle. But for Trevor Connolly, and we saw it this past weekend in Milwaukee, he had 2 net front collisions with Matthew Murray, the Admirals goaltender, which is to say not only is he getting to the front of the net, he's getting there fast and with some fury. This is a player that is not shying away. There's not a cautiousness. There's not a tendency to defer. He gets the puck. He attacks with all kinds of speed. He forces you to stop him as he takes the ice that he wants. And that has been so significant for the Silver Knights, not just in Trevor Connolly's own scoring opportunities, but so much of the opportunities that his line and his power play unit has been able to generate is that if it's a 1-on-3, he's still going right at you. He's still going right up the gut, forcing you to defend him, forcing you to make a decision on him. And when you do compile on him, well, that makes everyone else open. And we've seen a couple of times, Raphael Lavoie, Tanner Lazinski, able to get great scoring chances, able to finish scoring chances because of the middle lane drive of Trevor Connolly, usually with the puck on his stick, and the havoc that creates. So again, that assertiveness, that growth in his game has made him absolutely dynamic, and he has right now the third longest scoring streak in the AHL this season. And what a encouraging sign for Ryan Craig and his staff that this success they've had of late isn't just being led by the veterans who are absolutely doing their part to drive things forward, but it's also being done by the youngsters, by the Connollys and the Hemmerlings and the Uchazes and William Komets. This has been a team that has been able to heap a lot of responsibility on the young players, and those young players have just gotten better and better with each week. Now it's the Silver Knights team, and there's still time. There's 8 games left in this regular season. There is still work to be done to secure a playoff spot, absolutely. But when a team is playing this well and you have an opportunity to get stronger, you welcome that as well. And Jonas Rambjörg has been skating with the group. He was reassigned to the Silver Knights from the Golden Knights. He's been injured since prior to the Olympics. He looks like he is ready to return very soon. Braden Bowman was reassigned to the Silver Knights from the Vegas Golden Knights this week. He has not been with them since early November, but had 12 points in his first 12 AHL games before being called up, and of course had some very good stretches with the Golden Knights this season. He comes back a more seasoned, more polished player that can contribute to a playoff run for the HSK, at least for the time being. This is a roster that's getting a little bit better even, and adding more weapons and more tools to a team that is, again, 15-3-3 since returning from the All-Star break. All things moving in a very positive direction for the Silver Knights. And again, looking at some of the awards that were handed out on Tuesday, the league seems to agree. We'll hop out. When we come back, we'll sit down with veteran defenseman Brandon Hickey, talk about what's been going so well for this group and what he thinks they're capable of accomplishing in the weeks and months ahead. That's straight ahead. Brian McCormack here with you. We're horsing around.
6, 7, 6, 7.
Where are you going? I'm probably the last guy you guys should have mic'd.
You?
Yeah.
About to break that stick.
I don't say a word.
Golf yesterday?
No. Jude's first birthday.
Yeah. 6, 7.
PTP. Push the puck.
How are we doing, my dogs? Doing good today?
Yeah. Having a great day.
You're having a great day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not on Cogger. Went and looked at some cars.
Oh, yeah? For yourself or the...
Yeah. Myself.
Yeah.
Help me!
How about that Fred Brathwaite, though? Hell of a guy.
Time to upgrade.
How long have you had your car?
Almost 5 years.
Oh, okay.
They put a mic on the quietest guy in practice. Push the pace.
That's okay.
Back on Horsin Around, we're joined by Brandon Hickey. Brandon, appreciate you taking some time during what is a very busy stretch for this team and a very successful stretch for this team. What's it been like for you guys really out of the All-Star break where you've been the best team league-wide?
I mean, it was kind of crazy. Last month was kind of a blur. 15 games in one calendar month, you don't see very often. But, we got into a good groove. You're not practicing much. You're just getting ready for every single game. And, the guys rose to the occasion. Look at the success that we've had in the last month and a half. And, I think that boils down to like the type of team we have, how tight-knit we are off the ice and on the ice. And, you can just kind of see it in the energy we have in practice.
The Silver Knights are the number one team points-wise in the American Hockey League since the All-Star break ended on February the 13th. It's interesting because when you looked at the rate of hockey in that second half of the season or post-All-Star break, it was kind of foreboding. It was intimidating. It was on average playing every other day. And I found myself thinking beforehand, think of a baseball player. If you're 0 for your last 10, you don't want to get called up to the plate again. But if you're 4 for 4, you can't wait to get up there once more. So as difficult as playing every other day can be, if you can get into the kind of run that you guys have been on, bring on the next game. You almost don't want to put the stick down.
Absolutely, yeah. When you're flying like that and everything's clicking, it feels so easy to get ready for that next game. Like you almost want to get going, like you said. Sometimes these long weeks where you just have 4 practices or 5 practices, they can feel a little long and, tiring. But, I've never played a month of 15 games, so that was a first for me. But, it was impressive just how every single game, everyone was flying around. The boys were playing really well, and we've really gotten to this groove where, bring on that next game. We want to play again. We want to keep going. So it's fun to be around right now.
How do you guys stay fresh to the best of your ability with that much hockey? Obviously, the off days, you make the most of them, but how have you guys been able to tailor your daily schedule to stay as healthy as you can and as energized as you can?
I don't think you're doing much away from the rink. Yeah, you kind of get home, you're getting your rest in, and then we have a great training staff, led by Todd and Yotto, and they do such a great job making sure that we're in a position where we can give it our best every single night. And, you add a little more caffeine, I think, to the pregame routine. Yeah, one more cup of coffee, maybe a little bit more pre-workout, and then that gets you through.
You say, what do you do away from the rink? You're not doing a whole lot. Usually, we'll get to this. So what are your hobbies away from the rink? Well, during March, nothing at all.
Yeah, nothing at all.
I do wonder, though, and we're going to talk about some of your teammates, too. A couple of awards given out this week for Trevor Connolly, for Raphael Lavoie. There are a lot of guys playing really, really good hockey right now. But before the All-Star break, this was a team having good season, but a couple of games above 500, trying to fight its way around that playoff perimeter. The afterburners were thrown on so significantly when you guys came back from the break. Can you put your finger on exactly, was it just the fact that a couple of wins strung together and the confidence takes over, or was there something you guys tapped into that you didn't have earlier?
I don't know if we tapped into something we didn't have. I just think when you're on the road so much, we had that stretch where we were on the road for 12, 13 days, the only thing you're doing is spending time with the guys. And I think that kind of, build some camaraderie, and then guys get a little bit more comfortable around the guys. Not that we weren't earlier in the year, but, just galvanize the group. And you go through a road trip like that with 6 wins. It's crazy. It kind of just showed, us that no matter what kind of games we're in, we have the chance to win them. Whether we're down 4-1 or whatever, it's a tight-knit game. When you're winning games like that, it breeds this confidence around the room that, no matter what situation we're in, we expect to win. And I think, the guys have really stepped it up the last month and a half. You're talking about the awards, Cons has been playing great. Lavi gets that. I mean, the month prior to Hemmer was Rookie of the Month. So everyone's kind of peaking at the right time, and this is the time where you kind of want to hit your stride going into playoffs. So, we're just making that final push here and trying to, climb the standings as best we can.
And Carl Lindbaum is 13-0-1 since the All-Star break.
He's unbelievable.
I do wonder, have you ever been a part of a team, and you've played on some really good teams in your career, where you had this many guys going like this at the same time?
I mean, I don't know if I ever have. Maybe my freshman year at BU, we had a stacked team, and we kind of made a run towards everything there. We had Ikes on the team and stuff. So, when you got guys your top guns are going, it breeds confidence throughout the rest of the lineup. Guys see what the older guys are doing, or the top end guys are doing, and they're taking note, and they're wow, okay, I can find that another level to my game too.
You mentioned the way you guys were able to win games during the 6-game, 11-day road trip. You never go into a road trip like that thinking you're going to win 6 games.
Yeah.
But the way you guys won, first of all, the offense has been off the charts, but there was a game in Tucson where you gave up 4 goals in under 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And you won.
Yeah.
There was a game where you gave up 4 goals to Martin Firk, 3 of them in the first period, and you won. Sometimes there are games where you say, hey, it's not our night, you get through it, you scrap it. You guys are winning those games, and that has to be an incredible boost. You said confidence, but also just the idea that, there's a couple of points you sometimes leave on the table.
Yeah.
Even the nights when you've played in a way that, it's not our night, it's still your night.
Yeah, it's been crazy, like you say, we give up, there's some games where sometimes we don't have it in our D zone, or our offense isn't quite going like it always has been, and we got to win more of those tighter checking, lower scoring games like we did against Ontario a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And, I think it's a sign of a good team, and a team that's hot, that you can win a bunch of different ways. It doesn't need to be the same script every game. No matter what's going on, everyone's pushing towards that end goal. And, right now, it's been working out. Everyone's been hot. We got a good group of forwards up front that have just been, it seems, scoring at will almost this last month. So it's been really fun to be a part of, and, get my feet wet in most of these games. And, yeah, it's been just a great time to be around the boys.
We've talked about all the year how much production this team gets from the blue line. You got your first goal of the season in Milwaukee last weekend. But there's been a lot of offense from the back end, a lot of puck moving from the back end. But over the course of these last 2 months, blue line's still doing its job.
Yeah.
But Raphael Lavoie, 15 goals in the last 16 games. Trevor Connolly's point streak. Tanner Lazinski's been at the top all year long.
Of course.
Hammerling, Uchets, there's so many guys going.
Yeah.
It is interesting. You guys don't have to win one way.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes, when the forwards are going like this, it makes your job as a defenseman a lot easier. You just look for a forward, get them the puck, let them do their thing. If we're on the point and we're open and they want to give it to us, hey, go ahead. Like, we're not going to argue about that. But, it just makes things, like I said, a lot easier. You're not like trying to look for the perfect play. You're just like, hey, if I get it to my forward, I know he's going to make the right play here. And our puck movement by our forwards has been phenomenal. And, our back end too, look at Corms, Cogs, Davo, like they move the puck so well that it creates so many opportunities for our high scoring forwards.
Ryan Craig says sometimes when I ask him about some of the younger guys, the rookies, and he'll kind of make the point that, now we're in April, but even in late March, we played 60 games. No one's really a rookie anymore. They're a rookie on the score sheet, but they've got enough experience to do what I expect of them. That also probably feeds into the fact that this team's playing its best hockey at this time of year as opposed to earlier in the season. I do wonder, you guys have your film sessions. There's always things to tighten up. There's always things to tweak.
Yep.
But are the film sessions now, maybe more so than they were in November, a lot more of, that's right, that's good, that's where you're supposed to be, as opposed to the corrections that maybe happened earlier in the season?
I think a little bit more, but I think Krager does a really good job of like really not letting us, like feed into our own press kind of thing and like feel good about our game. Like even if we go out and have a really good game, like there's still some corrections that need to be made. We can tighten up more in the D zone. We can be better in the neutral zone. We can, create more offense, as weird as that sounds, if we do things a little bit different in the offensive zone. And, full marks to Krager for the way he's handled this season. He's an unbelievable coach, and, he's really, that the captain at the helm of our ship. Like, he's really pushing us forward and making sure we don't get complacent. And, we want to keep our foot on the gas pedal, and, he does a great job of that.
Krager always talks, too, about being where your feet are and, focusing on the task at hand one day at a time. That aligns this weekend a little bit with some of the bigger picture thinking, which is to say the magic number today heading into this weekend is 8. And if you can take care of business against Tucson this weekend, you guys can take care of a playoff berth. Now, again, there's more time than that to get that done, but that here and now focus is going to serve both purposes.
Absolutely. You got to focus on the task at hand. We got a team coming in that's fighting for a playoff spot. And, the last couple of years, we've kind of been in that situation where you're on the outside looking in and you want to, beat the teams that you're trying to catch up to. So if we could take care of our job this weekend, focus on Friday first, then move on to Saturday after that, we take care of our job and we play that the way that we've been playing. I like the way that, things could shake out here. So we just need to, focus on not getting ahead of ourselves. It's been a while since we've made playoffs here, and, that'd be a big thing for the organization, the fans, and us, the guys who've been here for a little bit. So, it's just, we're really motivated right now. That the atmosphere in the locker room and in the video room and the gym it's so fun to be around every day, and we're out here having a ball.
Now, I'm not going to make you speculate because I'll get you in trouble, and frankly, it's bad juju. But I have to speculate. I do wonder the nature of the division right now. If you win every day, you don't have to worry about scoreboard watching, but there are scoreboards to watch. There are standings to watch. Yeah. Do you guys enjoy this crunch time of April, trying to secure a playoff berth in the first place, but also 3rd through 7th, it's so compressed. And even fans talking to me about playoff matchup potential. There's 5 different matchups we could still see with 8 games left. Do you guys enjoy the chaos that exists around you while you're still just trying to win the game that's next?
I think we do. We've responded really well to that chaos in the last month and a half, and it's only going to get more chaotic the longer we go here. So I think the guys have really responded well and, kind of just focused on our task at hand. Like, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We don't want to be thinking about gains or points that we let get away and if we would have won that game, we would have been up here. Nope, there's none of that. We're just looking at hey, this weekend we have Tucson coming in, big two games that are, important for us in this playoff push here. So, I think that's just the nature of the division too. Every year I've been here, this division seems like if first place loses 3 games, they're down to 4th. It's crazy how much mobility there is. So it's it's a great time of year, and I think we got a lot of players that have been thriving under that type of crunch time pressure. So I think that you're just getting the best out of them right now.
Now, you talked about how meaningful it is for players, organizations, fans to be playing the type of meaningful hockey this group is playing right now. After Jonas Rönnbjerg, you are the longest tenured Silver Knight. So what can you say about the evolution of your time here throughout these several seasons to maybe how this locker room and the purpose that's felt right now is different than some of the past iterations?
It's definitely different. We've had a bunch of really good groups of guys together here, and I've loved all my teammates here. I just think this year we've just taken it up a notch with how tight everyone is. Everyone wants to be doing things with each other. Everyone's always looking to go to dinner on the road and hang out and do that type of stuff. Golf when we have time. Obviously last month we didn't have any time for that, but just getting to be around the guys.
The golf game suffered immensely. Everything else has been great. The
handicap went way up. It's been really good. I think we have a really good dynamic of younger guys and older guys, and our older guys are doing a great job of leading by example, taking the younger guys under their wing, teaching them look at how much our rookies have developed this year, and they don't even look like the same players they were earlier in the season, and that breeds confidence.
And you have a front row seat to that too, because primarily your defense partner has been either a rookie in William Kometz, a rookie in Artur Cholot. So a lot of your minutes have been taking young guys under your wing, not just again in teaching them how to to play the pro game. No, you're trying to do it within a 30-second shift with people breathing down your neck.
Yeah, credit to them. They've done an amazing job. When Choli's in, he's playing very well, and he's a very good defenseman. And look at Kemmer too. He's done so much this year and developed so much, and he just looks like a confident, veteran defenseman right now. The way he's moving the puck, defending, he's a strong kid too. So you get in the corner with him, you're not winning many battles. So, I've just had a really good time, trying to teach these guys a little bit. I got some games under my belt where I can, I got some experience, and I want to share that with them. And they're asking questions constantly. They want to get better. They care about, the development of their game. And that's why they're doing so well. Kemmer has been playing such a great stretch of hockey here, and, it makes things easy on me. He moves the puck so well. I'm just, I just want to play some defense, block some shots, get in the ozone a little bit. But yeah, I've had a really good time playing with them. Absolutely.
Well, and with your time in the Silver Knights, you've always done what's asked of you, which is to say we've seen you play fourth line winger. We've seen you do a little bit of everything. You got your first goal of the season in Milwaukee, and you did. It was you checked as many boxes as you could, because you hit it was Oasis Weissplay, I think, on the shoe tops. He went down. He missed 3 or 4 shifts. Came back, but he missed some time, and it bounced right back to you, and you scored on the follow-up.
Yeah.
So not only did you give the team a 1-0 lead, you also took a guy off the Milwaukee bench. So it's efficient of you to impact the game in as many ways as you can on one play.
Yeah, I'm just trying my best. I think that first shot, I just kind of closed my eyes and just shot it as hard as I could, and then it ended up back on my stick, and I'm like, what's going on? And then I shoot it again. No idea it even went in. I'm already getting back to the blue, expected it to be coming back, and then everyone's celebrating. Oh man, the blind chicken does get the odd worm, I guess.
And that's why this is what we can learn when we get to have conversations like this. Captain at Boston University, World Juniors, draft pick, playing. You're turning 30 in a couple of weeks. You've been playing pro hockey a long time. Even he, every now and then, just closes his eyes and lets it rip. That never goes away entirely. You talk about experience, though, and for a lot of players, again, not to put the cart before the horse, but should playoffs be secured, and you guys are in a great position to make that happen, for a lot of players, it'll be their first playoff experience as well. You've been on a lengthy run before. You won a Kelly Cup with the Florida Everblades in 2023, so you know just how challenging that can be, and also any run that goes the distance. We're talking about multiple months.
Yeah.
And we always talk about it's this linear, grinding, directional progress towards a trophy, when we don't talk about any 2-month stretch of the season that way. It's going to have its ebbs and flows. So there's a lot to navigate that a lot of guys are going to have to learn about on the fly.
Absolutely. The intensity's ratcheted up to 100. Everyone, is out there to win. And, not that they're not out there during regular season, but when you're in playoffs, you can taste that, okay, if we just bear down for 2 months, we achieve our goal. And, my time in Florida and that run there was one of the best times of my hockey career. We were having a great time with the guys. It was just us against the world. We didn't care where we were, whether it was in Newfoundland or whether we were going to Jacksonville. Like, we were everywhere, it seemed. And, you know, we had, like, the most fun. And that's the important part, too. Like, you can get so focused on, like, the nitty-gritty of everything. We need to do this, need to do this. But, like, when you're having fun and you're enjoying that moment, you know, the nerves go away. You start playing a little more loose. You start, you know, playing with a little more confidence. And I think, you know, learning on the fly, you know, it's a quick first series when you get to playoffs. Like, you lose one game, you're behind the 8 ball. So, I mean, you got to put your best foot forward every day. And, you know, it's exciting to even think about having the possibility of, like, getting to playoffs here and just experiencing that with this group.
From what we've talked about, it seems like the mentality that you're going to need to capture is the mentality you guys have right now. So
absolutely.
If we're talking about learning on the fly, you guys are giving yourselves a pretty good audition through this spring. Despite the fact that with all the games, there hasn't been a lot of time for anything else, you guys do make time for more, and that includes community activities. Mm-hmm. You and Mitch McLean were, and Jackson Hallam were 3 of the players who decided to take some time and run a practice for the policemen and the firemen for the Guns and Hoses game earlier this season. I know you guys had a lot of fun with that, but a connection beyond that, I'm impressed by it, but I comment on the facial hair all the time. But now I know it's professionally driven within the Hickey family. There's a lot of firemen in the Hickey family.
There's a lot of firemen in the Hickey family, yeah. We have, like, generations. Like, my grandpa, his 2 brother-in-laws were firefighters in Leduc. My uncle, like, my dad's older brother was a firefighter. My dad was a firefighter for 37 years. Now my brother's on the department in Nisku, just outside Leduc. So I feel like I'm the only male recently that hasn't been a firefighter.
Would you have considered it if in your teen years? Was that one of the things that was an option?
Absolutely, yeah. Even when I'm done, like, my dad played with a lot of guys who were, like, former hockey players, played professionally, like, played in the NHL, and, like, that's the best transition for a professional athlete because it's such a locker room atmosphere around the hall. Guys are pulling pranks on each other. They're constantly playing games. They're watching movies together. Like, they spend more time with them almost than they do with their families. So, yeah, I used to love as kids, like, my brother and I would go to the hall to see my dad. Mom would take us up there, and we're playing dodgeball in the gym. We're playing pickleball. We're playing basketball. You know, they always had these big cupboards with snacks, and you just, like, put a couple dollars in and take any snack you wanted. It was the best. I used to love, you know, being around that community and being around those guys because they're such great people too. Like, they just want to do what's best for the community and help people out. So, yeah, I have the utmost respect for, like, all first responders, police included. So, yeah, I know there's a little rivalry there, and I'm on the firefighter side, but that's okay. Like, it is what it is.
You got to pick a side. Honestly, I think you're helping. I think you're illuminating right now because the fire department has had the upper hand in this battle for a few years now, and clearly for all the pro hockey players, when they retire, the amenities of the firehouse just sound far more appealing than what the precinct has. So the precinct needs a couple more pool tables,
absolutely,
maybe some skee ball, something like that, to have a few more 35-year-old hockey players. So, you know what? That's the test I'm going to take.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was great to have you participate in that. I know the players really enjoyed it a lot. You mentioned some of the fun, the pranks. You are a fun guy. You are the kind of the leader of some of the antics for this group. We just passed April Fool's Day. Did anything happen for April Fool's Day for the group?
No, it was a pretty light day, you know. Everyone's kind of joking around all the time. There was, like, no pranks. There was a couple, like, you know, like, oh, you did this.
This
like,
is too serious of a time.
It's too serious of a time, you know. I mean, we're joking around on a daily basis as it is. So it wasn't like it was any different than any, like, normal day, you know. Like, it wasn't like my first year. My captain, Kevin Porter, when we were in, I was in Rochester, he took all my street clothes, balled them up, taped it up, threw it in the cold tub, and then threw it in the freezer. So I came out of practice, and my clothes were a solid block of ice. It took me like 2 hours to get it all unwrapped, unthawed, and then dried, and then I finally made my way home.
Is that the best one you've encountered? Because we've all heard, you know, there's clear tape on the skate blades, or there's the trash can full of water leaning against your hotel door, which is really more of a prank on the
hotel
main staff than anybody else. But was that the best one you've had? Or have you given any better?
I haven't given any better. I think that one was, that was probably the best one. And then he also, that same day, he took a whole bunch of empty beer cans and laced a skate through it and then tied it to the back of my car. So then when I was driving down the road, it was just, I had like 12 cans behind my car. People are honking at me, and I'm like, what's going on here? So Yeah,
Just
Ports
married.
was exactly. Yeah, Ports was the best for that stuff. You know, he was a jokester as well. I think that's kind of where I get it from, like being an older guy, you know, bring it in a little bit more light and have the guys have fun. You don't want to be intimidated coming around because, you know, like it's a hard enough job to do on a daily basis that, you know, you lighten things up a little bit and you're going to get the best out of everyone.
And with that, I just got to ask, just for promotional purposes, you know, there's only 8 games left, so a handful of home games. A couple of them are theme nights. Wrestling night is coming. Were you a wrestling guy growing up? Do you have any fandom that you can feed into for that?
I mean, a little bit. Like as a young kid, like I think I was like maybe 5 or 6. Like my grandpa on my mom's side used to love wrestling. And so we'd go over there and hang out and we'd watch wrestling. And then I was doing the wrestling moves with my brother. My mom's like, no more wrestling. Like that's not allowed. You can't be chucking them from the couch or anything like that. So, you know, that kind of stopped my wrestling fandom at a young age. But, you know, Moose kind of got the boys back into it last year. We had a couple nights where we all got together in a hotel room and watched, you know, the Royal Rumble, which was a great time. So I don't have like deep ties to it, but I had a great time watching it last year, and I might have to get more into it.
I think honestly that should be a project for the next week and a half before that game comes along. We need wrestling nicknames for all the guys in the locker room.
Oh, we can make that happen.
Brandon the Hitman Hicks is just starting a workshop to start. But before we let you go again, we talked about how well this team is playing. It's worth mentioning now as well. Jonas Romberg looks ready to rejoin. Mm-hmm. Braden Bowman just came back from a great stint with the VGK. So not only is this team playing great, it's been a pretty healthy group. It's getting guys back. Still time before the end of the season, but you guys have to be very encouraged by both what you've accomplished and now what that roster looks like top to bottom.
Absolutely. You know, after coming off the month that we have and then adding Ronnie, adding Bonesy, like those are like 2 amazing caliber players. And you add them into your lineup and you just expect nothing but a boost, you know? Like it's crazy to look around the locker room and see the amount of talent that's in there. And, you know, I think that, you know, if we keep doing our thing and we gel the way we have and we, you know, put our nose to the grindstone and, you know, really bear down during crunch time here, I think we could have a good little playoff run here, like get to it and, you know, be a lot of fun. You never know what's going to happen after that.
Well, the team's been terrific. It's been a lot of fun to watch. We're looking forward to, we hope, a lot more down the road and watching you help lead the boys in that effort. Happy birthday, and we'll visit with you again soon. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Sounds good. Thanks, B-Mac.
That is Brandon Hickey. We'll hop out when we come back. Patrick Williams, AHL Insider, will join us. We're horsing around.
Well, Trevor has a skill set that, he was a first-round NHL draft pick, somebody that, his skills with the puck are a huge asset to our organization. He makes people better around him. He's a driver with the puck. He can deliver the puck. Where Trevor is going to continue to grow his game is away from the puck, the details of the game that need to translate to hopefully achieve his goal of playing in the National Hockey League. So Trevor's young. He's young, probably one of the youngest players in the American Hockey League this year, yet he's probably a player that other teams circle on their board and know that they have to be aware of each and every night.
With the 19th selection of the 2024 amateur draft, we're proud to select from Tri-Cities of the USHL, Trevor Connolly.
Connolly puck in his skates, gave for you, Chaz. Now right circle, Bowman trying to dangle to the inside. It was in his skates. Connolly from the right dot, a shot, he scores! Trevor Connolly with a quick release from the right dot. It's his first goal in the American Hockey League, and the Silver Knights have a 2-0 lead.
Finally getting his feet underneath him and having some really good hockey games. He's played well.
Left wing corner, center in front, deflection, save, rebound, score! Center point, Cormier goes right side, Connolly one-timer, scores! Able to poke the puck out to the middle, here's Connolly, dancing in, scores! It's a hat trick for Trevor Connolly, and the Silver Knights have a 4-2 lead.
His skill level, it really, it makes the other players better around him. Good speed, good hockey sense. He's just now got to try and find a way to stay healthy, and he's going to be a big part of our team moving forward.
I'm not surprised by the success this kid is having or the success that this kid's going to have, because he's got that combination of high-end skill, sense, all those things that you can't teach, but he's got character and he's got a want and a desire to get better. With Trevor Connolly, anytime he touches the puck, and he doesn't need a lot of space or a lot of time, things can happen, right? He can create, and he can just think it, seize it, execute it at a very high speed. He's got a great shot, a great release. Like he can create offense very quickly anytime he touches the puck.
Yeah, well, Trevor, he's off to a great start. It's not easy coming to this league, especially as a younger guy. You can see his skill every night. You can see his excitement to play. He's explosive. Every time he has the puck, he can be a game changer. We've seen it already as a young guy, but I think we're going to see it more often as he gets older. And I think the fans of Vegas should be excited to see his skill one day.
Yeah, I think it's been a dream ever since I stepped on the ice, is just to play my first NHL game, play in the NHL, and kind of last in the NHL. So I just think I got to keep focusing every day, staying healthy, kind of grinding in the gym, getting my weight up, getting my strength, and then on the ice just kind of playing my game and playing that pro style of game, being mature, not turning over the puck, and playing my offensive game that I think I could translate to the next level very well.
We're back on Horsin Around. Great catching up with Brandon Hickey and the Silver Knights as they surge towards, they hope, a playoff berth, which would be their first since 2022. Right now, they are the #1 team in the American Hockey League since the All-Star break. And there's a lot to break down in the American Hockey League as this playoff push continues. And to help us do so, we're going to bring in AHL Insider and friend of the program, Mr. Patrick Williams. Patrick, thanks for hopping on with us.
Anytime. Thank you.
So you and I have had some back and forth conversations over the last couple of weeks of this Silver Knights team, which was, steady and solid through the first half of the season, but not surging like they are now up until the All-Star break. Curious from your perspective, what has clicked for this group that they are now 15-3-3 since February the 13th?
Well, I think it started, I guess if you go back to mid-February or so, right after the All-Star break. I remember, Carl Lindbaum had to miss that event, with injury. And, it's almost like he used that time to finally get completely healthy, came back and just was dominant, I thought, early. And I think that gave that team, if your goaltender's strong in net, everything I think follows after that. And you just bit by bit by bit. Now, I didn't have them scoring at like a 1986 pace, every night, especially on this road trip that they finished up in March. But, I guess if you can average 6-7 goals a night, it's almost like they're an experiment of can a different style of hockey win in 2026? And, so far so good, and then obviously if you put a goaltender back there who, we were talking about this a little bit, his numbers maybe in March weren't up to his typical standard, but they were, still respectable enough. And with the possibility of him getting up there, back to his peak form in April and maybe even beyond, this HSK team looks dangerous. I would not want to get them, especially in that best of 3 first round. Like, that scares me if I'm any team, especially with a goaltender who can steal a game or two. And then certainly with that HSK offense, from the back end on forward, that can they can jump on you quick, and you'll be down. You'll be facing elimination after one game, and have to try to beat this team back to back. That's a tough spot if you're a Pacific Division team.
And Patrick, we'll talk a little bit about the playoff format and possibilities as well, because there's probably the permutations of scenarios that could play out. There's probably about 20 of them right now. But you talk about the Silver Knights, how much offense they've gotten. So Raphael Lavoie was just named Player of the Month for March. He has 15 goals in the last 16 games. Trevor Connolly is in the midst of a stretch of points in 20 of his last 21. We'll go guy by guy in a moment. But I think as American Hockey League fans, you get so used to not having your group. Every team experiences injuries. Every team has call-ups. That for the Silver Knights, they had no Raphael Lavoie for 2 months. They had no Lucas Cormier for a month. They had no Carl Lindbaum for a month. This stretch that they're in right now coincides with them, for the most part, having just about everybody at the same time, which also makes you think not just how well it's working for them right now, but heck, where this team could be if they had this set up maybe a couple months earlier than they got it.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, July, August, you start to stretch out a roster, and you're like, oh, okay, this team looks pretty good. And then by October, November, you're down your top 3-4 players, and that's just on call-ups or what have you. And then you throw in just injuries on top of that. That's something NHL teams never have to worry about. Beyond injuries, your roster is whatever you have minus injuries. In the AHL, you add a call-up element too. You also add the element with a player like Connolly, where you see that growth, right, from October, November, on to March, April, and in some ways, not just him, but any young player, it's almost kind of a different player altogether. Just they add so many more elements to their game, and that consistency starts to take hold a little bit more from one night to the next. And that's such a big challenge at this level, that if you can start to get that. Now, I think the thing for HSK is in the playoffs is, especially if you're, and I'm not wishing any ill will on the big team, but if your parent team gets knocked out early, that's, you pretty much have your team, barring injury. So you get a much better sense in April, May, June, what you might actually really have there. It's almost more like an NHL team in that sense. Like, I think back to Charlotte last year, they were, and Abbotsford for that matter, they were able to pretty much find a consistency from one night to the next for 6, 7, 8 weeks at a clip there, that you just don't get that in the regular season in this league. I mean, you look at the transactions page each day, and it looks like airport, players coming and going. So it's just a lot different this stage of the season, and we'll see. But I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing with this HSK team for sure.
Now, Patrick, of course, you're watching the whole league. It's not like you watch every single shift of every game, but you watch a lot. I am curious, over the course of 21 games in which Trevor Connolly has 30 points, he's another player who missed several weeks due to injury during the World Juniors stretch. This is a player that I think sometimes we forget. He's a first-round pick. You expect your first-round picks. You hope your first-round picks are going to impact the game and play with a high pedigree. So it might be easy for some fans to forget that he's been 20 years old for just a few weeks. This is not only one of the most dynamic young players in the American Hockey League, but he's one of the youngest in the American Hockey League. If not possibly, I haven't done the math, but he could be he's among the 5 youngest, I'm sure, having just turned 20. And he's figured this league out very quickly.
Yeah, and I think that's the number one element for young players. It's amazing the difference. You wouldn't think there'd be that much of a difference between a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old, but there can be so much, right? And like you mentioned, given his age, a lot of players, they don't even come in the league until they're 20, right? So he's already ahead of the curve in that sense. But the difference is you have to sometimes ride that inconsistency early with a younger player and just accept that. And that's always the thing with first round picks too, that some come right in and they dominate, right? Like they're a point per game player per night, and within a month or two they're up in the NHL and you never see them again at this level. Other players, even first round picks, they need that time, right? And it's a real adjustment. Pro schedule, pro competition, especially out in the Western Conference, right? Like the travel there is a whole different beast, even from the Eastern Conference in this league. So, a player having to get used to that. And you're not just playing, 1 or 2 games a week, you're doing that 4 and 6 or that 5 and 7 that, you have to do at this level, and it takes time. But when they do start to figure some things out, then you really do see that growth take off. And I think that's what you've seen with him.
So the Silver Knights have been in a really good surge since the All-Star break. They have the most points in the AHL since the All-Star break ended at 15-3-3. The interesting thing, though, is that while they have made progress, of course, they're not currently on that perimeter of the playoff conversation. They're now in the driver's seat of their own destiny in terms of at least securing a berth. But there is, I want to say, I think it's 8 points now that are separating 3rd place and 7th place. It is such a condensed accordion of a Pacific Division. Anyone who's trying to forecast out what they think the playoff matchups are going to be in the first round, they probably have to wait 2 more weeks to do it.
Oh yeah, yeah. It always feels like it comes down to that final Friday, Saturday night of the final week of the season. Sometimes even Sunday, depending on the schedule. And that's just in terms of who's making it. Never mind the actual matchups. And we just see on a daily basis in this league, how teams go up and down. And I've said this for a long time. This is a league of streaks, and so when you do have your team relatively intact, and available and healthy, that's when you need to make hay, because it's tough when the inevitable injuries call-ups hit, and you see teams, probably I would say more even than the NHL. Like, teams in this league will run off an 8, 9, 10 game winning streak like it's nothing. They'll also do the opposite sometimes as well. Trying to forecast 3 weeks out now, like you said, it is kind of a bit of a fool's errand. But the main thing is to just be in that mid pack. Like, they've given themselves now a little bit of a buffer zone. So even if you have a couple bad nights, they're still pretty comfortable, and they're not in that Tucson, San Diego spot now where they're jockeying back and forth for that 7th spot. They can use this time to fine tune some things and start to get themselves geared up for that playoff style, because it does change, and that's probably the one caveat for this team is it gets a lot tighter once playoff time arrives. So you probably won't be putting up 7 goals a night. You're going to have to tighten things up, both sides of the puck.
Well, Patrick, let's talk a little bit about how unforgiving the first round in particular of this playoff setup can be. So we're not going to get into too much of the minutia, but for fans who are interested, there's, for the Pacific Division, there's mileage considerations. If you're outside of a 300-mile highway mile radius, things of that nature, the high seed will have all 3 home games versus there can be a 1-2 split. Whatever the makeup is, as you mentioned, a 3-game series, you lose game 1, your back's against the wall immediately. This is a setup that, unless you're getting all 3 home games in your building, there isn't a ton of home ice advantage in the first round. You can steal a game and steal the series, and you can also put the high seed in the position of having to make a pretty difficult decision. Do I want the first game at home? Do I want the last 2 at home, knowing I might be going home with my back against the wall? It's not a system that overwhelmingly rewards the home team unless they're at the very top of the division standings.
Yeah, I think back to last year. Last year was kind of a perfect example of that. There was one team, Manitoba, they played Texas. Manitoba was a pretty solid team last year. Their playoff season, such as it was, lasted for a grand total of 2.5 days, because you lost those games on the road. They actually, I think they played 4 times down the stretch in the final month of the regular season. Then they went right into a playoff matchup. So, it was a very weird setup in that sense. And then you lose that first game, like you said, and right off the bat. And then the other team was Abbotsford. They won the Cup last year. It's very easy to forget, though, that they got into that predicament pretty early, too. They were up against Tucson in a best-of-3. They won the first one, lost the second one. All of a sudden, you're playing for your entire season in that game 3. It's a tough one. And, like, you run into a hot goalie, or you get a bad bounce, you get a call that goes against you, all the things that can go wrong. There really is no margin for error. You can see that whole season start to crumble. Now they were able to get through that, and then they were played 4 more rounds after that. But I think that's one of the biggest challenges in this league, and I think that's especially true in the Pacific, where all but that number 1 seed have to play that best-of-3. So even if you're the number 2, like the Calgary Wranglers were a couple years ago, where they finished second overall in the league, they still had to go into a best-of-3 right off the bat, and almost saw their season fall apart as well. So it's one of those elements that if you try to explain this playoff format to fans who aren't familiar with it, you probably need a lot of graphs and charts. But it definitely adds a different sort of element and wrinkle where you don't have a chance to kind of dip your toe in, feel things out. There is none of that. It's a sprint once the playoffs do start.
You mentioned an interesting thing, Patrick. In any playoff series, a hot goaltender, if he's on your side, is a blessing. If it's what you're going up against, it's a steep hill to climb. I wonder, again, let's use Carl Lindbaum as an example because he's near the tops in all categories, 13-0-1 since the All-Star break. He's having another tremendous season. If you're in the shoes of an opponent, well, you think to yourself, okay, I don't want to run into Carl Lindbaum at any point. But I wonder in this 3-game series, do you want to run into a hot goaltender? No. But is it easier to beat Carl Lindbaum? Or for what the Silver Knights will potentially go up against at some point, let's use Eric Portillo's having a great season in Ontario. Are you more confident, like, okay, would I rather have to beat him 4 times in a 2-week stretch, which is hard, or hey, in this best of 3, I can maybe sneak through a weekend? Like it seems obvious that you wouldn't want to face a top goaltender in that best of 3, but it might be a better odds setup than it would be in a best of 5 or a best of 7.
That's a good point. It's a really good point. And Ontario kind of like that. What happened to them last year, where they weren't able to play in their home rink, so they had to play their series in Los Angeles. There were no fans, pretty much. So that any element of home ice was kind of gone right off the bat, if you can get on that team early, you steal that first game. Now maybe you're in their head a little bit, and they're still, especially in a league where a lot of young players are there. This is maybe one of their first times going through the pro playoff grind. They're still in their head thinking about the previous game. You jump on them now in game 2, all of a sudden now you might be able to steal that series. The other element too is what's going on with your NHL team and their NHL team. Now, if you're facing an opponent where their NHL team's also in the playoffs, maybe they lose a couple players. Flip side of that is if their NHL team is done for the year, they're going to be a fully stacked roster for the most part. And so there's all these other external elements that come into play at this level. It's not just your team. It's not just even your parent team. It's your opponent and their parent team as well. So a lot of moving parts. That's why sometimes people say, well, can you make some playoff predictions? I'm like, let me know like A, what the matchups are, and B, actually who's going to show up that night in terms of personnel, because it changes fast.
And with that, Patrick, I will ask you an unfair one along those lines, just out of curiosity. So much of this NHL season, it's just been a foregone conclusion. The conversation of, the Central Division with your Colorado, Dallas, Minnesota, and of course, 2 of those teams are going to have to hit each other right out of the gate, it appears. But that's kind of the gauntlet of the Western Conference on your way to a Stanley Cup. Similarly, the Grand Rapids Griffins had a record-setting pace through the first really 2/3 of the season. But what goes up must come down, and they've been still excellent of late, but still a little more human, a little more down to earth. It's all about being hot at the right time when you get into playoff hockey. Do you think the road to the Calder Cup in the West still goes through Grand Rapids, or have they been met by a few more teams on their level as we reach April?
Well, that's the thing too. So a team like Grand Rapids now, they're going to finish their regular season, and then they sit around for a week, 10 days, even sometimes 2 weeks. And then they have to jump into playoff hockey. And even then it's only a best of 5. So you get a little bit more runway, but not a whole lot more. That's always sort of one of the wild cards of playoff hockey in this league, where you get a team there that has, and coaches will try to, the scrimmage will do different things, but in the end, they're not playing games for, after, being on such a regular pace for 6 months. Now they're not playing for 10 to 14 days, and then it's playoff time. So you can catch a team like that off guard, and that's happened before. Providence, that's kind of been one of their real thorns in their side the last couple of years. They've had some real promising cup contending teams that's kind of fizzled early because of that. Does it go through Grand Rapids? I don't know, because you look at who they may have to play. They may have to play Texas at some point. That's a good team. They may have to play Chicago. Now, Chicago's kind of been a streaky team, up and down, but you're playing, Caden Primo in a series. That could be an element. The other, I guess, wild card in it all is Does Detroit make the playoffs? If so, how long are they in? Do they need to pull, a couple players? All of a sudden, if they bring up Sebastian Cossa, does that change things, right? So, last year you looked at some of the teams that should have made noise and they didn't, and it fell apart pretty quick. And that playoff field will clear out real fast. Like it goes from 23 down to 8, pretty fast, and before you know it. So I'm not totally sold on Grand Rapids, I guess is sort of my way of saying it. They've been 500-ish for like last 6 weeks or so, and they've looked pretty human at times. Now part of that is because, they did have a playoff spot pretty much sewn up by, I don't know, New Year's, and they had to play three more months. And I don't care who you are, that complacency is going to sneak in a little bit, and it did with them for sure. If you can jump on a team like that, and if you can get a couple favorable matchups that work for you, that don't work for other teams, and if a team like Grand Rapids gets bumped out, that can definitely clear a path for you all the way to the Cup final.
Patrick, last one before we let you go. It has been a while for the Silver Knights since they've seen playoff hockey, going back to 2022. That was a quick 2-game in and out against Colorado. Of course, Silver Knights still have work to do, but their magic number heading into this weekend is 8 points, so they're in a very good position. If they can sew that up, though, the last time there was AHL playoff hockey in the Vegas Valley was the quasi-COVID Pacific Division playoff, where despite the circumstances, still a pretty electric atmosphere at T-Mobile Arena. That series against the Silver Knights and Condors that gave a lot of fun for a lot of fans. So we know what it can look like if the Silver Knights are able to have some home hockey in the postseason. What's your enthusiasm as a pundit and a fan of the game to see the Henderson market perhaps have an opportunity for a playoff run this spring, what that can do for the league?
It would be huge. I mean, I remember that series. I was trying a little bit of a weird, did it actually happen kind of thing. But I've been saying this for a long time now. I feel like Henderson is a market that's just been kind of sitting there waiting to take off, right? And the only thing that needed to happen was for the team to have some success, wins wise. And now you're having, and they're doing, and to top it off, they're doing it kind of in an entertaining way, right? Like this isn't a team grinding out 2-1 wins every night. This is a team that's, they're playing run and gun, like 80s style hockey. They're a team where, if it's a 14-game slate around the league, I more often than not, I'm lately trying to make sure I see them as much as possible. Just, not even at this point of the season for, trying to learn as much, just they're entertaining. Like they're a fun team to watch. They go after it. And, this is we saw what happened with the big team, like how quickly hockey took, at the NHL level. I think the same thing can happen at the AHL level. It's a market where there's a lot of passionate fans, and then certainly like everything that HSJ have built off the ice in terms of obviously one of the finest buildings in the league, practice facilities, marketing, all those elements, right? Like this is a team, I think that with a good run here, even if it doesn't go all the way, you play into May, that can really energize a fan base, generate some excitement for next year, gives those players that experience as well to carry over to next October. So I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing there, and I think this could be a fun team to watch April, May.
Oh, you're right, Patrick. It has been high octane. Heart Attack Henderson Hockey will trademark it. Maybe that'll be our playoff push. But it's been great catching up with you. We know your workload's about to ratchet up as the postseason approaches. Fans can find your work on the AHL.com. Flow Hockey, great Twitter follow as well. And always love following your work and appreciate taking some time, Patrick. Thanks for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That is Patrick Williams. We'll hop out. We'll wrap things up when we come back. We're horsing around.
Push like the glue factory's chasing you.
Jeez. Look at Harold. Wow, Harold, you're making those skates look light.
Jeez, Lucky. You got some horsepower behind that.
That's some great form, Harold. Don't forget to breathe.
Damn, Harold, that's impressive.
Harold, how'd you get so strong?
Well, Joe, Riley, after every workout, I drink chocolate milk. Chocolate milk. It's packed with calcium, vitamin D, and electrolytes that my body needs after intense physical stress. It's a complete recovery package. That's how I got muscles like this.
Thanks, Lucky.
Let's cheers.
Huzzah!
Wrapping things up on Horsin Around. Great catching up with Brandon Hickey and with Patrick Williams. Lots of great insight as playoffs are right around the corner. The Silver Knights hope to be involved, and right now destiny very much in their own hands. Their magic number is 8 points with 8 games still remaining. So any combination of 8 points gained by them or lost by the teams on the outside of the playoff picture looking in will do the job for the HSK. If they are able to win 2 games in regulation this weekend against the Tucson Roadrunners, that would get the job done. So plenty of reason on the hockey front to come down to Lee's Family Forum this weekend for the Silver Knights and Roadrunners, Friday at 7 p.m., Saturday at 6 p.m. But another reason, on Saturday, the 6 p.m. puck drop, we are celebrating Donate Life Night presented by Nevada Donor Network. Silver Knights fans, the first 3,000 through the door will get these fun glow sticks for pregame activities. And you will be better at turning them off than I am. There we go. But first 3,000 fans will get these, and the Silver Knights will be wearing these Donate Life themed jerseys that were designed by our very own Austin Zima, which will be auctioned off. You can find that auction at hskdonatelife.givesmart.com, hskdonatelife.givesmart.com to contribute to the HSK Foundation. And of course, efforts throughout the night to promote and support the Nevada Donor Network as well, as we celebrate organ donors and encourage many more of us to think about the opportunity we might have to save lives, because all of us can make a difference when it comes to organ donation. So Donate Life Night, Saturday night. Hope that you'll join us at Lee's Family Forum. Well, that'll do it for us this week on Horsin Around. Once again, thank you to Brandon Hickey. Thank you to Patrick Williams. And make sure you're following Patrick's work at theahl.com and on Flow Hockey, because there's going to be a lot to cover with the playoffs right around the corner. I'm Brian McCormack. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week right here, Horsin Around.